Hey guys, I was kind of doing a little brainstorming today on some different ideas on ways to generate income around the homestead. Some of these may not be specifically something you could do full-time, but having multiple sources of income is definitely not a bad thing, especially if you kind of look at the realtor market years ago, and if you were just a realtor, you would probably hit pretty hard. And kind of having several sources of income as well is definitely not a bad thing. So when I kind of sit down and look at this project, it isn't a super easy project, obviously, but if you look at it compared to the type of stuff that our great-great-grandparents possibly had to go through, we have a whole lot more options available to us today. We got, the internet, so there's tons of information. There's ability to sell stuff. It just kind of really opens up the doors, as well as shipping services and stuff generally available. You can have, FedEx or UPS come right to your house and pick up your packages daily if you were doing some sort of distribution. So some of this isn't all just kind of related around stuff that you can particularly harvest off your property, but things that you could potentially do at home. One of the kind of the driving factors for me personally on wanting to kind of achieve this is I'd like to have the flexibility to kind of drop anything I want when I want to go spend time with my family. My daughter is 5 years old. She's kind of starting to get up to the age where she's starting to get into events. So if she decides to do gymnastics or dance or t-ball or whatever the situation may be, I'd like to be able to attend those events. So that's kind of one of the driving factors for me. For you, it may be something different. So let's kind of, start listing off a bunch of stuff and we'll see what we end up with. So of course, if you have chickens on your homestead, one really quick, easy solution is sell eggs. You can also do meat birds and sell those. I know those sell for quite a bit, especially on Craigslist and stuff where you raise birds. And if you have the ability to have a rooster, you also have the option to raise chickens. Or I guess harvest or incubate chickens, and you could potentially sell, day-old chicks. And this doesn't just apply to chickens as well. You can think outside the box here and go, well, pheasants or pigeons or quail. I mean, geese. There's a lot of varieties, and there's a lot of kind of demand for some of these things. You look at like the dog training world, and a lot of people will use pigeons and pheasants and stuff as they train their dogs. So you can kind of look outside just what the average person is going to consume for meat. There may be other needs as well for some of that. You could run a stunning service depending on the type of animals that you have around. If let's say you have a cow around, you can obviously rent out your bull, or if you got a dog, you can rent out your male, for obviously for breeding and that type of stuff. Or if you have a ram around or a buck, different people have kind of different needs and they don't want to kind of really inbreed, or there's definitely particular types of breeds of certain animals that do better. Low birth weight bearing bulls are usually pretty heavily sought after by a lot of the farmers around here because they don't like to put their cows kind of through that real heavy distress. The land available, of course, you can rent out that pasture, let people graze their cows out there. You could also rent out your land to farmers to do hay on. You could do they could do crops out there. So put together kind of classes and teach on a variety of subjects depending on kind of your skill sets. If you're really into, let's say, beer making, you can do class on that. If you're into cheese making or sewing or knitting, I mean, there's always kind of a need for people to kind of learn different skill sets, and putting together some classes or some programs of some sort give you the potential to make some income off of that as well. Another option, if you're a hunter, is running a guide service. So this one I see on Craigslist quite a bit in our area is selling beef or cattle in the fall time. Especially grass-fed definitely brings a lot more kind of higher dollar. So if you have the kind of space, you can obviously raise cattle. You can also keep bees. Bees obviously offer up honey. A lot of people will utilize the wax. There's also kind of a big thing that I've read saying that eating local honey really kind of helps relieve allergies for certain people. And of course, when you look at actually honey in most grocery stores nowadays, it's usually high fructose corn syrup and not honey at all. Another option is, of course, to raise a garden. If you were like doing what I said before, doing bees, this kind of works hand in hand together because obviously the bees will help pollinate your plants. And we have a neighbor around here that does a very large garden every year, and they spend most of their weekends down at the farmer market making a little bit of extra cash, selling extra crops. And of course, you can utilize those things that you do grow out of your garden. You can kind of go the extra step and you can make jams and jellies and kind of different preserves, pickles, and sell some of those. One thing I had read a while back, if you kind of have a homestead on 10 acres or less, a lot of times they say the best bang for your buck is doing kind of orchards and kind of specialty fruits and stuff. Option if you do have dairy cattle is of course selling extra milk. There you do kind of have to check your rules and regulations. Some states and cities and stuff have certain laws kind of related around selling raw milk, but raw milk also does open up the doors for a lot of stuff. You can create butters and cheeses and all sorts of stuff utilizing that milk. Another option you could possibly do on the side or something, or even full time, is doing photography or doing video type stuff. You know, there's always people getting married and looking for someone to kind of capture some of those moments. And if it's you know, something that you kind of already have laying around, maybe you could go in and kind of get your feet wet doing some of that. One thing that we've kind of really run into living out here is we always feel like we always need bigger and more equipment to get some stuff done. A lot of times you end up requiring a splitter to do your firewood, and you end up requiring a pretty decent sized lawnmower. And some of these things, of course, you are only using a very small percentage of the time. You could even rent these type of things out, you know, say $60, you know, for a weekend for the log splitter or something. It kind of helps pay for that splitter. Of course, it does get a little bit more wear and tear, and you don't quite know what some of these people are putting it through, but you know, it depends on kind of your money situation as well and how bad you want some of that cash. Another option, if you're pretty good with your hands and small engines, doing a small engine repair service or an automotive repair business. So maybe we'll kind of talk, I guess, about some different trades that could potentially be very useful in different areas as well. You know, like if you're an accountant, obviously you could do taxes. If you're a carpenter, that really opens up the doors. You got the ability to kind of help frame up houses. You could be doing building chicken coops, building dog houses, furniture, cabinets. I mean, the doors kind of really open up. Another real kind of nice benefit of today, or an advantage of today's world, is the ability to, a lot of times, to VPN into networks. So you got like a lot of, you know, IT services, you know, over in India and this and that, where that does kind of open up the doors. You can kind of work remote and do a lot of your stuff as if you're sitting at a physical building in today's world. So you may even potentially be able to find some sort of job that gives you that flexibility. You can even kind of dive in a little bit into some of the internet services. I know there's some people that part out cars and sell them on eBay. There's other people that go around and just shop at flea markets and garage sales and stuff, pick stuff up, even at Goodwills, and then put them on eBay and sell them at a higher price. You could start a business if there's a certain product that you might be able to build on your homestead. You could obviously sell that. There's sites out there like Etsy and of course eBay and Amazon. There's a lot of already built stuff, as well as building a site for your services as well. You know, there's a lot of open source platforms like Magento and stuff that are kind of all built around kind of an online shopping experience. So some of the development of some of that stuff is not as intensive as it was, you know, years ago. So I think we'll kind of wrap this up here. Obviously this list could kind of go on and on. It really kind of depends on some of your skill sets, the resources you have available to you, you know, kind of your region, and you know, the type of commitment you want. Maybe you're just looking to make a few extra bucks on the weekend or something, and selling eggs and stuff out of the garden is your best bet. Or maybe you're a machinist and you got an extra pole barn sitting on your property, and spending a little money and putting a lathe out there and some other equipment might be the best route. So if different ideas kind of came to you and you feel like sharing, I'd really encourage leaving a comment below and sharing some of those ideas, because sometimes the most simplest thing is right under your nose and you don't even realize it, and kind of getting a little reminder here and there is definitely kind of a nice thing. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If so, let me know by clicking that thumbs up and subscribing. Thanks for watching.